And I'm going to go the top of my message, Mark 6, please. Mark 6. Hey, what a moment in God. What a moment in His presence. And choir, if you will, I'm going to make it shorter, so y'all, if you wouldn't mind to have a seat there. Why not let the Holy Spirit come in and turn up turn the service and flip it upside down, right? Okay. So here's together to gather to gain. Okay, Mark chapter 6. We have this moment. Jesus has his disciples on the boat. They're going to cross Galilee. You can see across it. By the time he gets across, he's trying to withdraw from. He'd already ministered to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. So by the time he gets on the other side, it says Jesus saw the huge crowd. They gathered on the other side of the lake. Gathered on the other side before he could get there. And look at this right here. He stepped from the boat. And what was the first thing that Jesus did? He had compassion on them. His heart was moved. When his heart was moved, he does something most people race down to. Well, he was so moved, he had them to feed all the five. This is where the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and he had to feed. Yeah, but before he fed anybody, he taught them. The Bible says right here, he began teaching them many things. Oh, man, to know that Jesus is teaching you. That's why we have what's called the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 5, 6, and 7, largely called his greatest message, and the theme of all messages are found in those 3 chapters. And so we're here in this moment. Jesus sees us. He has compassion on us, and then he feeds us. He feeds us by he says to them, put them all in small groups. Cause them all to find a place in small groups. We've been gathering all month. We've been saying together to gather, because there's something supernatural when you come together in the presence of God and everyone being on the same page. So what do you want me to be, Pastor? What do you want me to do? I want you to do what you just did. I want you to enter into worship, and then I want you to find a small group. Today is the sign-off kickoff for the next 3 Sundays, where we're asking you to find a small group that Jesus can feed your life through the compassion of others, and that you can share the life of God with someone else also. Here it is, folks. The message is really simple today. The first one is, we need each other. Come on, say this with me. We need each other. Yes, we do. I'm telling you, we need each other, and we're going to continue to need each other. God put it in the DNA of man. You need people, they need you. And we need each other because there are moments in our life we do not know what to do. We need an answer. We have questions. And so we turn to a place like Proverbs, and it tells us that plans go wrong. Things don't go wrong. Plans start wrong. Listen to me. Things don't go wrong, they start wrong. And they often start wrong because there wasn't enough advice. There were not enough advisors to bring about success. I've been told, and I believe it's true, that the most successful and people that are more successful are the ones who will ask the question. Whatever the question is, and whatever level in your life, early on, listen, there are lots of people, young people. You sitting here, you beautiful young people, understand there are lots of people that would share their information, their knowledge, their experiences, their successes and their defeats, and give you the gift of their life if you ask the question. It's important to ask the question. One time, Phyllis and I sent out a letter to 12 ladies. Lindsay was getting ready to turn 12 years of age. You remember this, dear? And I sent to 12. We picked a doctor. We picked a woman that was on the news. She's actually on CBN right now. She was one of our local news ladies, and we picked 12 different ones, and we sent them a letter, and we said to them, actually a card, and said, in close, my daughter's turning 12. Our daughter's turned 12 years of age. Here's a check for $25. Would you take her to lunch and tell her what you remember the questions? What do you laugh about? What do you cry about? And what do you dream about? Do you know you can hear a person's heart and life and vision out of those 3 questions? Because what you laugh about is the greatest joy of your life. What you cry about is the greatest burden of your life. And what you dream about is the call of God on your life, moving you into that direction. And I believe that there are moments that we can help one another, but we're not even in the pathway one another. Yes, we believe God for the lines, but we want you in a circle. We need lines and circles. We line up to worship God, but we want you in a circle so that you'll be faced with somebody, and when life happens, you'll have somebody to ask the question to. Somebody, I wondered out loud, it was about a dozen years ago, just wondered out loud, and a friend around me on our staff, she go, oh, no, you need to do this with your mother's estate. I mean, I wondered out loud. I had a question, and it was not even the thing that we were in the meeting for. And she go, oh, let me get you in touch with someone. And my dear mother was able to bless myself and all of my siblings with the little bit that she had left in this life. She'd be thrilled to know, but it was a matter of just months of her losing everything that she ever had. Why? Because the question was asked. There are practical things that you can find out about. Practical things about, but there are also life decisions that you might need somebody else to weigh in on and say, hey, listen, you might consider this. But if you don't ask the question, you don't get it. I tell you, when do we need each other when we are in desperate pain, when we are hurting. Paul says that he comforts us in all our troubles. Anybody in the room got a little trouble in their life? Come on, okay. So that we can what? Comfort others. He comforts us, and we take that comfort. When we are troubled, we will be able to give them the same comfort that God has given us. That's it. Here it is. Here's what I believe. What you make happen for others, God will make happen for you. It's my life. It's a life GPS coordinate from me. What you make happen for others, God will pour on you and your family. And so in that moment, you need the compassion and the comfort and the care of somebody else who, often the enemy will isolate us and make us think you're the only one that's ever had this pain, ever had that moment. It's not true. Somebody else has been through something and can identify with you. We need each other when we do something stupid. You ever done something stupid? Come on. Okay? Have you ever made a mistake? Is there anybody? Can we come to Jesus? Has anybody? Has anybody ever sinned? You need. Thank you, fellas. Y'all answered that really well. Much better than the first service, folks. As long as man's been alive, the very first family until the last breath on this planet, people make mistakes. People have faults. People sometimes act out. People just act out. People sin. We sin. I sin. And you need someone there that will help you. I love how the message says this. It makes it alive for me in Galatians 6. Live creatively, friends. If someone falls into sin, forgivingly restore him. How do we restore? Forgivingly restore. Yeah, God's going to give you one more chance, and you on probation till Jesus comes. That's not what this says. Forgivingly restore. Saving your critical comments for yourself. When I read it, I thought about years ago, I used to say, with yourself, use your head. With others, use your heart. Critical comments for you. You might be needing forgiveness before the day's out. Stoop down. What you make happen for others. God, okay. Stoop down and reach out to those who are oppressed. Share their burdens. What do you mean? Usually, when you have done something, what happens? People get on the floor. People go to the lowest part, and they're looking to try to find a way to not be trampled upon. And he says, get down with them, help them. Well, what if people think that that's exactly what the problem is that people don't want to identify with somebody else when you got to make sure that there was a guy was telling me, he said, I told her, we had a mutual friend, and he said, man, I had a bad moment. He said, Ron, it wasn't good. He said, and I told this pastor, and we love him. We both love him. And I said, what did he say? He said, well, good. Now I know who to come to when I do something stupid. Listen, stoop down, reach it, share their burden, complete Christ's law. If you think you're too good for that, you are badly deceived. Couple, dear, sweet couple. We were calling for people in small groups. They got together, built relationship over a couple years. This wasn't really quickly. It was over a couple years, about 4 to 6 couples, in and out, people move and come. But there was a core of about 4 or 5 couples who'd been together for a couple years. And Bob and Kathy gets several children, and one of their oldest children, it's just a matter of, does their oldest one go to med school, law school, whatever? But in that second semester, falls in love with a guy who takes her down a path. Now she's on drugs. She runs from them, finds herself in a crack house, and then is pregnant. And heartbroken, they pray with them, walk them through all of that moment. Baby comes, and as the baby gets just a little bit older, they find them living in a crack house. Now, I'm telling you, that's not my world, and I don't know a lot about this. And I hear from them on a weekly basis what they're doing. They're trying to find where she is, find where that, and Bob's going to take the baby. And so I don't recommend this. But 3 of them got together, went in a crack house, and got the baby and took the baby out. And nobody messed with those men. I mean, they went in. Now, sometimes, listen, the only way I would understand it is my own babies and my own grandbabies. But if they'd asked me, I'd have said, no, you can't do that, can't do that. But they didn't ask me, so it's easier to get forgiveness than permission. That is not my principle. That's a Jesuit principle. Do not send me your emails. Send it to Pastor Paul at First Baptist Church, please. I did not tell you that you had permission. That's a Jesuit principle. Look it up. I've been blamed for about 40 years that I've made that up. I didn't. I got through Bible college. No, I did not. I did not. Listen, they did. Well, they went in front of a judge, and the judge said, I get it. But you can't do that. But I'll tell you what I will do. You get every bit of evidence and keep coming back here, and one day I'll give you the paper to take that baby, because half the time's drugs and you can filthy play. I mean, lived in a $500,000 house, now living in a drug house and stuff. And so a little bit later, it was a Friday night. I got the text, Pastor, you near Walmart? I called and said, what do you mean near Walmart? Yeah, someone spotted her in Walmart, and we're all here. The whole small group is at Walmart. We got every exit. I said, what are y'all doing? Said, yeah, Pastor, it's okay. We got the paper this time. And they surrounded the Walmart, and they took that boy from that. I mean, the sheriff came in and said, it wasn't an incident, except it was an exciting night to be at Walmart on a Friday night, and they had it. There wasn't nobody going to leave that Walmart until they found that baby, got that baby, and were able to take that baby. I mean, the whole church raised that baby. Everybody loving on that baby. And Jody just keeps growing up. And about every year they moved, and I've been ministering in that area, and I get this every year, watch that boy. He said, his dad said, Pastor, that boy won't leave the church. He's on the media team. He's on this team. He loves God. I don't know. He said, I don't know what to do with him. He wants to be there more than the pastors want to be at that church. And he said, he's growing. He's getting ready to graduate. And by the way, how's your daughter? Oh, Pastor, you won't believe it. You will not believe it. Had other children doing well, has gone after God, and has raised them and got delivered from that. We need each other. Folks, you need it for moments like this. Listen, what am I saying? We need each other. We need each other's strength. Listen, your strength. We need your strength. We don't need your toxicity. We don't need, now listen, you got to come into the house of God and get strength. You need to share your strength. You need to share the grace of God. We don't need your drama. Don't bring that down. No, we don't need that. We need your strength. People need to share strength with one another and share. And you never know when God has somebody's strength for you that you don't know. Paul says to the Thessalonians, encourage each other and build each other up. The effect that we're to have on one another is to build up, stir up, and cheer up. And if you are constantly not doing those things, then we got to work with you and help you to get some strength in your your life so you can have an effect on others. Because why? Because you're in God. You ain't supposed to be where you are. You don't remain where you are for a long. You keep growing and moving, and you get beyond some things. You get healed some things. You get delivered from some things, and you move on from that, and that's not your identity. And you don't posture yourself and place yourself in that. You don't spread any of those things. You move and say, oh, God, bring strength in my life so that I can give that strength to others. Why do we need strength? Because we have to have the strength, and we need more strength than we ever have, folks. I only have so many hours in our staff. I can only father as much. If there's ever a day we need fathering and mothering in this house, in the body of Christ, in America, let's face it, everywhere. We need more fathering and mothering today than you can ever imagine. I'm not talking about titles and positions and power and platforms. I'm talking about relationships and fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters in the family of God that's going to help people, what? To overcome. Overcome. Ecclesiastes says 2 people are better off than one, for they help each other succeed. If one falls, the other can reach out and help, but someone who falls alone is in real trouble, he says. Why? Because there are opposition, and there are moments that you've got to overcome that you cannot do it on your own. And there are opportunities ahead of you that sometimes you cannot see. See, success really is, I believe success is when preparation meets opportunity. How many knows that some people don't know that preparation is in this moment right now? You're preparing for your next moment of opportunity. And so that preparation, Mike, you better come. I felt a stream. You better get ready for offering. We ain't got no schedule anyway. I'm just kind of letting him know. Get ready for offering. And this time we're going to do the announcements in just a minute. Then they'll sing during the offering. Okay, we ain't got no schedule left, so y'all got to hear the inside talk, okay? So why? 'Cause opportunities in your life. Opportunities. Unstaffed young guy, good-looking guy, but I mean, he didn't have a lot of experience with dating or anything or whatever, and he loved this gal, and she has a car wreck on the way to church, and she's in the emergency room. And I said to him, I said, son, this is your opportunity. You better do a pastoral call right now in the emergency room. And it scared him. He said, well, what do I do? I said, be a pastor. That you love her, and this is her moment. He's married to her today, and he thank God he's married to her. But here's a guy who I don't know he'd ever had a date, but guess what? He met his opportunity. The opportunities ought to be good things. Opportunities, if people are wondering out loud, should I take that job or not? You better be sharing and asking others who can tell you what's behind that, because sometimes I tell all of my graduates, if they get into ministry, let me do the talking to the lead pastors. I've helped many of them be able to live above the poverty line. Why? Because a lot of times if they can get a warm body, they'll get them for whatever $10 they can get them for. I don't know. The notes are not here. We done messed up a service, so here it is. We need each other. We need each other's strength, and we need each other's strength in God. I mean, in God. Yes, you can join small groups about everything, from little league to some kind of dance group. Those are all wonderful. Join all of them. What's the difference about the community of the body of believers? Well, first and foremost, we're asking every small group to do at least 2 things: pray together and eat. Amen. What? The New Testament, look at how much Jesus did around food. Because when people are gathering in a moment of refreshment, something opens their heart and something comes out. I mean, you can do the bike riding after, do the quilting or whatever you're going to do the pickleball after, do the hunting to get, do whatever you're going to do. But pray with one another and eat. Why? Because life is going to happen to somebody in that group, and we want the power of God to be released in that group for them to gain something they could not have gained if they were in just some other kind of club or some kind of other meeting. It's because when Jesus is in the middle, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my place, he says, I am there. Final verses, Mike. Romans 15. Now those who are mature in their faith. Romans 15, 1 and 2. Now those who are mature in their faith can easily be recognized, for they don't live to please themselves, but have learned to patiently embrace others in their immaturity. Thank God somebody embraced me in their immaturity, my immaturity. Thank God that somebody took a time and raised me. You know, I was a young pastor at 23 years of age. There ought to be a law against that. But I was. And I had a group of older men. They had tickled them. I called a board meeting. They were thrilled to come because they had a young buck that they were working on. And they sanded me down. And I had a sweet, sweet man named Bill Bishop. He come to me every Sunday and said, it's the greatest sermon I ever heard. Billy Graham couldn't do any better. And I thought, my brother, you've not been out of town very much. And one day he said to me, now preacher, don't you ever forget, there's only 18 inches between a pat on the back and a kick in the seat of the pants. And I've been running from that ever since. Why? Because in my immaturity, somebody embraced me. Our goal, verse 2, and I'm going to pray, must be to empower others to do what's right and good for them and to bring them into spiritual maturity. Oh, God, help us. Here's the question I want you to ask yourself. Everyone, I did it in the first person so that you can ask yourself and hear it yourself. If this church and everyone in this church was just like me, if they worshiped like me, if they served like me, if they gave like me, if they came after Jesus like me, what kind of church would we be? I'm talking about you. Not me, but you. I'm talking about every one of us asked the question, first person. And we said, oh, God, then that's what we should model for everybody around us. And say, oh, God, help use all of my strength and be able to lift us up.